Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. And a quick note, I know normally in my What's for Dinner videos, I share 7 dinners. This week is a little shorter. I've got 5 dinners to share with you. The last 2 nights of the week, to be honest, one night I just wasn't feeling well. The other night, my mom ended up staying the night with us and I just didn't get any pictures of dinner. But I've got 5 yummy dinners to share with you, so let's get into this week's video. For dinner this first night, I did teriyaki salmon with a pineapple salsa. I didn't follow a recipe exactly, but I'll link the recipe that I took inspiration from down in the description box below for you. I'm going to start out by making coconut rice. So to this rice cooker, I'm going to spray the insert. Next, I'm going to add in the rice. Now, I run the rice under cold water in a mesh strainer until the water runs clear. So I'm going to add that to the rice cooker. Next, I'm adding some water followed by coconut milk. And if you've never used coconut milk before, when you open the can, there will be like basically a chunk of coconut on top. And you might be like, what is wrong with this? There's nothing wrong with it. You just need to give it a really, really good mix. So once I've got that mixed up, I'm going to add in my salt and sugar. And I forgot to mention, but I'm using basmati rice. That's what I had on hand. Normally I do jasmine rice for coconut rice, but just using what I got on hand. So once I've got the salt and sugar added, I'm going to give that a stir, cover this with the lid, and turn the rice cooker on. And then once the rice cooker's done, it'll flip to warm. And I just let it sit covered for maybe 10 minutes and then fluff it with a fork. Now for the pineapple salsa, I just kind of eyeballed the ingredients. I didn't measure anything. I've got some diced pineapple, followed by diced bell pepper. I have an orange bell pepper, so I'm going to use that. Jalapeno pepper, I did remove the seeds and membranes. Next, for the purple onions or red onions, I like to soak them in ice water for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes and then drain that off, and it just kind of takes the bite out of the onion. Now I'm going to add in some cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, just leave it out. Some fresh lime juice, a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to season this with some salt and pepper. Give it a really, really good stir, and then give it a taste, and you can adjust like the lime, the salt, the pepper to your taste. And you can eat this right away. I popped it into the fridge just to kind of allow all the flavors to come together while the rice and my salmon were cooking. And here is that salsa. And this was a yummy little salsa. Gary was like, don't get rid of the leftovers. I want to eat this with chips. He really liked it. All right, so now I'm going to get started on my other side dish. Again, didn't follow an exact recipe. I took one as inspiration. I'll have it linked down below. We're going to do some roasted sesame ginger sugar snap peas. So I've got some sugar snap peas. I removed the little strings, trimmed off the edges. I've got them in a little bowl. I'm going to add some olive oil, soy sauce, grated ginger. I'm just using the ginger paste in a tube. I'm trying to use that up. I'm going to add some minced garlic followed by ground black pepper, a little bit of salt. I'm going to give that a toss, and then I am going to add in the sesame oil. I forgot to add it earlier. Just a little drizzle. You want to be careful with sesame oil. It can be a little overpowering. So once I've got that added, I'm going to give it a good mix and then add it to a sheet pan that I line with some parchment paper. And then this is going to go into a preheated oven. The oven was set at 400 degrees, and I baked these for about 12 to 15 minutes. It's really just preference. If you like yours a little, snappy, you can cook it for less time, but I like mine more tender, so just cook it until they are tender to your liking. All right, and here are the peas. When they were done, I did garnish them with some sesame seeds. Now for the teriyaki salmon. All I did was take a couple salmon fillets and I marinated them for about an hour in the refrigerator, which you don't have to do. If you don't have time, you don't have to let them marinate. I sprinkled both sides with some of this Kinder's Japanese barbecue seasoning, and then I added some of the Sweet Baby Ray's teriyaki sauce. And again, I did that to both sides. And now I'm going to transfer that to a parchment-lined baking sheet. I baked this in the oven at 400 degrees along with the peas for about 10 minutes or so until the salmon was done again to our liking, and I did broil the salmon for the last minute of cooking. All right, here are the plates. So we've got some of the coconut rice, the salmon, that pineapple salsa, and the sugar snap peas, and this dinner was delicious. So good. For dinner the next night, I was craving Buffalo Wild Wings, so I placed an order. Gary ran and picked it up for us. Here's what we got. So we got some of their garlic parmesan wings, the Asian zing wings, the medium buffalo wings, and then I believe this is the honey barbecue wings. We got some of the carrots and celery and blue cheese for Gary. I do not like blue cheese, but he loves it. And then I had a coupon in the app, like through rewards, for a free appetizer. So we did their dip trio. So we got their queso, salsa, and guacamole with chips, and that was dinner this night, and we had tons of leftovers that we ate on for lunch for a day or two. Dinner the next night was off the meal plan, but I had a few things in my fridge that I needed to use up, so I just kind of put this together. Here's what I'm going to use. First up, I've got some of the leftover pulled pork. I shared this last week in my What's for Dinner video. That'll be linked down below if you want to see how I made it. I've got some of this Kinder's barbecue sauce, some bacon. I cooked this up earlier in the week for meal prep, and I just needed to use it. We've got that pineapple salsa from the teriyaki salmon, some queso quesadilla cheese. You could use whatever kind of cheese you want. Tortillas, and then I've got some of this Hidden Valley Ranch Smokehouse dressing that I need to use up. So I decided to do wraps. I kind of went back and forth between quesadillas and wraps. I decided to do wraps. So I'm going to lay down the tortilla, add some of that cheese. Now I'm going to add on some of that pulled pork. I just warmed this up in the microwave. I'm going to take some of that bacon. It's already been cooked, like I mentioned. I just gave it a rough chop. Next, I'm going to add some of that pineapple salsa, a drizzle of the barbecue sauce, and a drizzle of that smokehouse ranch. And my kind of inspiration from this is one of my favorite pizzas that I either order out or make at home is either a Hawaiian barbecue chicken pizza or Hawaiian barbecue pork pizza. It normally has like the barbecue pulled pork or chicken with pineapple, cilantro. And so, yeah, that was my inspiration from this. So I just rolled this up and we're going to toast these. So I have this little griddle skillet. I have this over about medium heat. I've got just a tiny little pat of butter. I cooked these for about 3 to 5 minutes per side until they were golden brown and the cheese was really melty and gooey inside. Now, once these were done, I did allow them to cool down for about 5 minutes before I cut into them, and look, these are just golden brown and delicious. So for the side dish, again, just using up several things I've got on hand. I needed to use up this romaine salad, the grape tomatoes, and then this corn and black bean salsa is from the Copycat Logan's Santa Fe tilapia I made in last week's video. Got some shredded cheese and then the Santa Fe style tortilla strips. Here are the plates. So we've got our wraps and then the salad, and I tossed our salads with some semi-homemade ranch dressing, and this was dinner this night. It was quick and easy. I got to use up several things on hand that I needed to use up, and it was tasty. It was a good dinner. For dinner the next night, I tried a new recipe for a loaded potato gnocchi soup. Now, I love potato soup. It's like my favorite soup. I love potatoes of any kind. So them in a soup form, I'm all for. But I also love gnocchi. So when I saw this, I was like, definitely got to give this a try. This was a quick and easy dinner. So comforting. So in this skillet here, the recipe says for you to cook up bacon, but I already had some bacon that was already cooked up. So I just added some bacon grease to this pot. It's over about medium heat. Once the bacon grease was melted and warm, I added in some chopped onions. I'm seasoning them with just a little salt and pepper. I'm going to give it a stir and then cook this for maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so until the onions are soft. Next, I'm going to add in some garlic, give that a stir, and cook that for about a minute. Now it's time to add in the chicken broth. I like to use this broth base with some water. Once I've stirred that in, I'm going to bring this to a gentle boil. I did turn the heat up to about medium-high heat. Once the broth is at a gentle boil, we are ready to add in our gnocchi. You can use whatever brand or kind you prefer, the refrigerated or the kind you buy in the pasta aisle. I'm using the refrigerated kind today. And you want to cook this until the gnocchi floats to the surface. It should take about 3 minutes or so. Just check your package instructions. Once the gnocchi floats to the surface, it's done. We're going to reduce the heat to low at that point and then stir in the heavy cream. Once I've stirred in the cream, you're going to slowly add in the cheese and give that a stir. And once the cheese is melted, then basically your soup is ready. Now, I decided that this was a little thin for my liking. I think the recipe called for a pound of gnocchi, and this package was like about 12 ounces. So I added in a cornstarch slurry. Once that was thickened to my liking, I'm going to add the cooked bacon back in. I decided I wanted to add a little more shredded cheese. So I added that, I tasted it and adjusted the salt and pepper to my taste. This is what that soup looked like when it was done. Now, for me, I don't need anything to go with this sandwich. I feel like it's filling enough, but for Gary, I wasn't sure how hungry he would be. I had a couple things on hand that I needed to use up, so I decided to make him a toasted sandwich. So here's what I'm using. I've got this Tuscan loaf, some turkey deli meat, sliced Havarti cheese. I'm going to use some of this butter, fake butter, to toast the bread up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of mayonnaise and Dijon mustard. I just assembled the sandwich and cooked it in that griddle pan on both sides for about 3 to 4 minutes until it was golden brown and that cheese was melted. All right, here are the plates. So Gary ate half the sandwich and then we saved it and he had the other half the next day for lunch. We've got some of the soup. I did garnish it with a little bit of sour cream, some extra shredded cheese, bacon, and then some green onions. And this soup was so good. I liked this soup. Gary loved it. He just kept raving about it. He really enjoyed this. So if you like potato soup, if you like gnocchi, I think you'll definitely like this. And it took less time to make this than it does potato soup, obviously, because the gnocchi only takes like 2 or 3 minutes to cook, whereas potatoes can take, 15, 20 minutes or so. So super quick and easy weeknight meal. Last but not least, I tried a new recipe for cranberry orange pork tenderloin. Of course, the recipe will be linked down below for you. So in this skillet, I'm going to sear the pork loin. I've got this garlic and herb marinated pork loin. I think the recipe said to use mesquite. My store didn't have the mesquite. This was just fine. So I'm going to sear that on all sides. You are not cooking it through at this point. You just want to get some nice golden brown color on the pork loin. So next, we are going to make the cranberry orange sauce. So in this bowl, I'm going to take some cranberry sauce. I think the recipe said to use whole cranberry sauce. I had the already jellied, so I'm just going to use what I've got on hand. I just put it in the bowl and kind of mashed it up a little bit. Next, I'm going to add in some orange juice, followed by apple cider vinegar. And a quick note here, we like things kind of saucy, and I wasn't sure how much sauce this would produce because at the end you boil it down to make a glaze, so I doubled the sauce recipe. Now I'm going to add in the orange marmalade, and I broke out the food scale here because the recipe called for, I think, 4 ounces of orange marmalade. So I was doubling it, 8 ounces. And I think this jar was like 12 ounces or so. So once I've got that orange marmalade added, you're going to give this a really, really good mix. And then we're going to pour half of the sauce over the pork loin. You want to set the other half to the side. We're going to pop this into a preheated oven. The oven was set at 375 degrees, and how long this takes to bake really just depends on the thickness of your pork tenderloin. Mine took about 45 minutes or so. You want to cook it until it reaches at least 145 degrees internal temperature. Once it's there, you're going to remove it from the oven, cover it with some aluminum foil, and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Once the pork had rested, I sliced it up so that we could get it ready to serve. Now, while the pork was resting, I took the orange cranberry sauce that we made earlier, placed it into a small pot, and I simmered it until it was thick like a glaze. Now, in the meantime, we're going to make a homemade green bean casserole. I've made green bean casserole for years, but I've always used canned cream of mushroom soup, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just wanted to try it homemade. Of course, the recipe will be linked down below. In this skillet, this is on medium heat. I'm going to add in a little pat of butter. Once the butter has melted, I'm going to add in some chopped onions, sliced mushrooms. I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. Finally, I'm going to add in some minced garlic and then give that a stir. I'm going to cook this, like I said, it's on medium heat for maybe about 5 minutes or so. You just want to cook it until the veggies are nice and tender. Next, I'm going to add in some thyme. I think the recipe called for fresh. I didn't have any fresh. I just had dried, so I'm going to use what I've got on hand. Once I've added that thyme, I'm going to give it a quick little stir, and then I'm ready to add in the flour. So I'm going to sprinkle the flour, then give it a stir, and then I'm going to cook this for a minute or two to get that flour taste out. Now I'm ready to add my liquid, so I'm going to add in some chicken broth. I'm using water and chicken bouillon powder. I'm going to give that a whisk. Now the recipe called for half and half, which I did not have, but I had milk and heavy cream on hand. So I just combined the two, used, equal portions, and you've got half and half. So I'm going to give that a whisk and then simmer this for just a few minutes until it gets nice and thick. And what we've done here is we've made our own homemade version of cream of mushroom soup. So if you've wanted to make, your own cream of mushroom soup, this is how you make it. It's really easy, only takes just a few minutes. So once that's thick, we're going to add in our green beans. Now you could use canned green beans. The recipe called for fresh, and I wanted to try it that way. I just bought the steam in a bag and cooked it in the microwave according to the package instructions. We're going to stir those green beans in and then transfer this to a greased baking dish, and I'm using a 9x9 here. As we've added the green beans. Now, the recipe, I did a small batch recipe, and the recipe called for like a breadcrumb topping, but I wanted just the traditional fried onion topping, so you can follow the recipe or you can just do fried onions. They're both delicious, I'm sure. So this is going to go into a preheated oven. I just put it in at the 375 the pork was in and baked it for about 15 minutes. Everything's cooked. You're just warming it all together, getting it golden brown and bubbly. For the other side, I made some mashed sweet potatoes. I just took a few sweet potatoes, washed them really well, peeled them, cut them into chunks, boiled them until they were tender, drained the water off, and then mashed them up with some butter, cream, a little bit of salt, and some brown sugar. Here are the plates. So we've got the pork tenderloin with the orange cranberry glaze, the mashed sweet potatoes, and the green bean casserole. And y'all, this dinner was delicious. And I mean, it is so perfect for this holiday season. If you're still looking for something to serve like for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's, another holiday, or if you've got company coming over and in the next couple weeks, I would recommend you give this recipe a try. It's budget friendly. Pork tenderloin goes on sale pretty often at the grocery stores, so it's budget friendly, and with the orange and cranberry, it's just perfect for the holidays, and it is delicious and it's easy. So recommend you give this recipe a try. All right, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and that you got some dinner ideas from it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.